G'day, we're here with Megan Boone, and the Blacklist. How have you found the response to the Blacklist, which really just right out of the gates was such a big hit for NBC?
Yeah, I don't really. The only time that I'm really that aware of it is when I'm doing interviews and people ask me about it, or when in my reality, in my concept of what's going on in my life, I know that I have a show that feels like there's some um, longevity, which is a unique feeling for an actor to feel like there's something that you can work on for a long period of time. So for me, that's the most exciting part of that about it. Then acclimating to all of the different never had to come in contact with before because I was never on like a hit show, like the interaction with the fans and talking about it and all that stuff. So of course, though, I'm elated and totally pleased with the outcome so far.
Yeah, well, like this has been like the last couple of weeks. Like a lot of people have been on knife's edges with network TV. There's been over 20 shows cancelled by networks, and you guys didn't need to lose any sleep over that at all because you guys got renewed back in December or something.
Yeah, I know. You got to count your blessings, with that kind of thing, for sure.
And then oh, sorry.
Good thing to remember. It is a good thing to remember when you're in this position that this is a really, really lucky place to be.
And there was some big news that's come out, I think, just today for the Blacklist. You guys are going to be sort of becoming part of Thursday, the NBC Thursday night block. You're going to be after the Super Bowl.
I know. Yeah. I know. I wasn't Seinfeld and Friends, weren't those shows on Thursday nights? And
yeah, the Thursday night, big NBC must-see Thursday night lineups.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, I just found out. I found out last night for the first time that we were going to do a Super Bowl special, and then I found out this morning at the Upfront that we are going to do this two-part episode, which we've been known to do at mid-season, and which we did for our finale as well, which is an interesting structure because the first part of that two-part episode will be after the Super Bowl, and then the second part will be our first time on the Thursday night time slot, 9 p.m.
Oh yeah, so you'll hook people in after the Super Bowl, and they'll have to tune in on Thursday to see how things are progressing.
Exactly. I think it was a pretty smart move. Yeah.
So I guess like with the show as it progresses and things like that, like how much do you as an actress know? Because there's lots of twists and turns that come up in the Blacklist with relationships and story and things like that. How much do you know is coming, and how much is kept from you?
Well, nothing's kept from me, but I also don't really know what's coming because the show develops it just so quickly and so last minute. It's like they'll come up with an idea as they're going episode to episode throughout the season. Now, did they know, for instance, that Tom, my husband, was going to turn out to be a bad person, a spy of some kind? Yeah, they knew that. But, these kinds of things, like anything. I think there are some shows where they don't tell the actors what's going on, where they keep it from them because they want to keep some autonomy in the writer's room, you know what I mean? Like some kind of like control over what they're doing. But with us, that's not the way that Bokenkamp runs things. He's happy to jump on the phone anytime I have a question. We have a really open dialogue about that, about what's going to happen and what's coming up.
So did you know Tom was like a spy all season from like the pilot to, yeah.
Yeah. We knew about Tom. We know the Red Liz connection for what, but that's always subject to change as well. If they find that something works better in the story as they're developing it next season, then the overarching story between Red and Liz could change. You know, the past and the history between us could adjust based on the things they discover are more interesting next season.
And how does that inform you as an actor playing a character when you know stuff that character doesn't even know yet?
That's a good question, because at first I wanted to play this trick on myself and not know what Liz didn't know. And then as I started to get further and further into the season, I realized that in order to keep the story in my head, I had to have a sense of where she was going, so I knew where she was in her life now, so that I could make choices that would get her to where she was going. You know? If you have someone who has to go from point A to point B, how do you get them there without knowing where point B is? You know? So that became my philosophy further into the process. And as far as how it affects me playing, like in the moment, if I know something she doesn't know, it's fairly easy to play that I don't know that, rather than, you know, the difficulty of trying to craft an episode around a story that I don't know where it's going, you know?
Yeah. What do you think the biggest sort of pivot point was for this season for your character on the show?
I think it was discovering Tom's secret and discovering that Red took my father's life, killed Sam.
Yeah.
Those two things were really, really disrupting events in her life, because it started to be clear that there was no one that she could trust in the world, and that would lead her down the course, which I think her ultimate story is about going into the dark and starting to see the dark underbelly of human nature, rather than being so naive and open-hearted with everyone and trusting. So I think those two events were catastrophic and sort of propelling her into that.
Yeah, like, I think in some ways, like, this issue of trust was sort of the biggest sort of issue for your character this season, because her husband, the person she trusted the most, she gradually throughout the course of the season trusts less and less.
Right.
And then you've got Red, who she trusts the least, who gradually throughout the course of the season she trusts more and more. And that sort of, by the time that's completely flipped is when she finds out about Red and her dad. So it sort of completely challenges the way she's been going all season as well. Like, how do you think, like, for her moving forward, the issue of trust will be? And, like, how was it sort of playing that sort of as your relationships with two characters completely flips throughout the course of the season?
Hold on 1 second. I have to take that off the hook.
That's okay. So it's chatting with Megan Boone about the Blacklist season final tonight. And she's back.
Hi, I'm back.
Yep. It was probably blocking camp, saying don't spoil anything from tonight.
Well, I was playing with Ryan and James. No matter what scene we're playing is always a wonderful experience, because they're both really good actors, and I think it's so funny, because out of all the actors on set, those are the two that I probably have the closest relationship with. I don't necessarily work more with both of them than I do with the rest of the cast. I think it's just that, it's just this very point that you brought up about trust and there's just more going on in those storylines. So in order to work on those together, I think we had to get closer and be more open with one another. So there's some irony in that, I guess, because hang on one second.
Is that the doorbell?
Hi, sorry, I'm on a phone interview, so I'm sorry. I have to go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. Okay, that was a delivery. That's why they were calling.
Delivery. Wasn't James Spader popping around?
No, I have this thing outside of the Blacklist. It's called a life. And it exists. I know people don't want to believe it, but there's Megan Boone too. Liz King's kind of the one that swept you away, but there's Megan Boone who, gets deliveries and so forth.
Gets phone calls and
goes to the gym, does normal things. So anyway, I was just saying that that I think it's just dawned on me how ironic it is that in order to play these relationships where you vary between your ability to trust them and your distrust for them, that you have to sort of develop an even deeper, richer relationship off camera,
And the real sort of like intriguing sort of like mystery of the show from the get-go was why Red's so interested in Liz, and we sort of things develop throughout the course of the season that reveal some of his motivations, probably not all of them. Where do you see their relationship moving forward now?
They are reliant on one another. So she's stuck with him. I think that she feels really reticent to move forward, but she doesn't know where else to go or what else to do with herself, because there are things that she doesn't understand about her past and about the relationships that she's had so far in her life, that only he will be able to help her uncover, because his desire to get to the bottom of whatever he's trying to get to the bottom of with the Blacklist seems to run parallel with uncovering the secrets of her life. So I think that because of that, they're both kind of linked, and for better or worse. And I think when we leave season 1, it's for worse. He's someone she can't trust, but he seems to have a deep, undying love for her that she also can't justify or understand. So I just think that that's where we leave them in season 1. And as far as where it's going, that's something that I don't think that has fully formed yet. But I think that I think it's a love story. I think that the Blacklist is a love story.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean by it's a love story?
I think that's why the reason I come to this conclusion is because I think that's why people are drawn to watch it more than other crime shows. I think there are other elements that are more just like riveting and interesting about it as well. But I think that at the core of it, the thing that people talk about the most are the relationships that Lizzie has, that she has with Red and that she has with Tom and Wrestler even. For some reason, I think because she's so alone and because she's so ambiguous as a human being, there's something in the audience that wants her to find a place, and they want her to find a person that she can rely on. So I think ultimately the payoff, and the only payoff that you could see, is that she ends up finding that person. So that's why
do you think that person is Red? the person that she's going to end up trusting the most and be that reliable person for her?
I do. At this point, I do.
Yeah. So like with sort of that in mind, and with sort of this in your view, the Blacklist sort of being this love story between these two people, do you obviously think that Red is ultimately a positive thing that's come into Lizzie's life, even though at times it might seem completely the opposite to her?
I think he's a really positive thing, because even the pain that he puts her through, it always opens her eyes to the truth. And that's what positive force is in anyone's life, is you go through these transformational fires, and the fires burn and they're difficult or whatever, and you go through these challenges, and then you get to the other side and you recognize that the challenge was a good thing. And I think what Red represents in her life is the ultimate challenge. And she moves through it, and on the other side of each little challenge in the Reddington obstacle course is a new gift, a new answer and revelation for Lizzie.
We're an awards website at Gold Derby. We love following the Emmy Awards, and I'm not sure how much you know about the Emmys, but it's been a bit of a challenge for network dramas to make it in the past couple of years due to all the great stuff being produced on cable. But it looks like the two lights for network drama this year is probably The Good Wife, which has had a real creative resurgence of themselves after about in their 5th season, and you guys who have had a great right out of the gate sort of critical and ratings and everything sort of thing. What's it like to be sort of one of the few sort of network dramas that's getting sort of awards talk and things like that? Because there aren't too many of them.
Oh, right. I didn't know we were getting awards talk, but I'll tell you what I am experiencing. I think that has to do with that is that I'm experiencing a work environment that is creative on a level that I've never been a part of before. I feel very fortunate to be able to work with James, who's a master, and in my mind would probably be nominated for more Emmys. I mean, he's already won several, and I think he's deserving of anything that comes his way as far as recognition goes, because the way his mind works, it really is brilliant. And I'm saying that from someone who sees him on a daily basis, and sometimes I think it's a lot easier to think someone's brilliant when you don't have a lot of access to them, or you see them as enigmatic in some way and distant from you. But when you're up close and personal, the bloom is off the rose sometimes, and you see them as fallible. But with James, I very much know him as a human being, and I also see him as a brilliant creative force that is deserving of any kind of accolades he can get, especially on television, because there's a reason that he works so well in this format. His brain and his mind is so specific and quick, and television moves so quickly that in order to be creative on his level in that capacity, then it requires someone like him, someone who thinks exactly like he does. You know,
there's a real I don't care whether it's The Practice or Boston Legal or The Blacklist or even when he guested sort of on The Office. There's a real sort of energy to James Spader, and you sort of can't take. You know, he really draws you as a viewer. Is he sort of is that something he just when the cameras start rolling, he just switches on this sort of energy, or no?
No, if anything, it's even more palpable in person, and that carries over into his work on screen. I mean, you can't create that charisma. I really don't. You know, have you ever seen anyone bottle it up and then just present it whenever is necessary?
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's it. Like, and that's why I guess he gets shows like a Boston Legal or a Blacklist where he's got these big sort of scenes which need to, which he has to sort of carry sometimes, like like these big
Well,
5-minute closing arguments and things.
but another thing is that he writes a lot of his own material. I'm constantly getting rewrites, and they star the drafts. So there's a little star next to everything that's been changed, and in every episode I'll get 7 or 8 rewrites and just red stars next to Reddington's dialogue, because he's constantly at home with his time, that he sent Liz off to chase bad guys. He's at home reworking his dialogue and making it perfect so that he can play it the way he wants to play it. So was Reddington as verbose in the pilot episode? Did John Bokenkamp write this? John Bokenkamp wrote an incredible premise, and he wrote really great characters that I think is the thing that is keeping us buoyant, but James added that aspect.
That's fascinating. And just to move back to sort of the sort of you being on a network drama, there being so many cable dramas that sort of suck up a lot of the awards oxygen and things. What's it like? Because a lot of these cable shows, as great as they are, so many of them are great. A 13-episode seasons or 12-episode seasons. You guys are having to put out 22 episodes a year. What is it like being on a show? Like, what is it like putting together that 22 episodes for you as an actor, and I guess for other people too, if you want to comment?
Well, I can see now why it is a much easier task, much more surmountable task to make a quality 13-episode season than a quality 22-episode season. I mean, we are fallible mortal beings, and making 22 episodes a year really pushes us as human beings to our limits. I saw it happen not just to me, but to everyone around me. And the writers, and when the writers are tired and the actors are tired, and the good thing about the experience is that you have to reach inside and find something somewhere that you didn't know was there and use that. And for me, it's made me believe that I can do anything in the world ever after this. This is going to be the hardest job I've ever had. But on the other hand, I also feel like there should be like these extra oh, you made 9 extra episodes this season, points added on to the merit of the show, Yeah. In voting season or whatever.
Yeah. I think you should add points and with your show it's the case, as long as they're not rubbish episodes, I think there should be
right. I mean, if you're making quality under these circumstances, there's a lot to be said for that. So I feel really proud of what we've done, and I have a whole new perspective completely now, having done this and gone through it. Just as a viewer, I was eating up those cable shows left and right. I totally get it. But it's kind of cool that we have an audience that gets upset if we're off the air for a week.
Yeah. We've got a couple of questions in the chat room. Someone, Vanessa Cormick, has asked, what can you tell us about tonight's season final? What are you allowed to spill the beans on? I hear it's a game changer. That's what I read online.
It is. We just get completely turned on our ear. It makes it so that season 2 can't really follow the same formula as season 1, which is a risk that is hard to take in network TV. But if our writers do anything, they take risks. I mean, they create and destroy elaborate plot lines and incredible characters week by week. And so next season, I think, because of the finale, we're going to have to find a new box in the floor, so to speak, like a new season-long mystery that you have to get to the bottom of. As far as tonight, it's going to be a bloodbath. We're going to find out who Berlin is.
Exciting.
So, yeah.
When you got the script for the final, when you first heard about this bloodbath, this game changer, this thing that you can't really tell specifics about, what was your reaction like when you saw this big risk that the show is taking?
Well, for me, I was excited to see it because when you're working on something for a year of your life, I don't know about you, but I always feel like change is an exciting thing because you don't want to be rehashing old scenes. You watch some network TV shows and it's almost like they took this template for writing the scenes and they used it for every episode. That's not something we've ever done on this show, and it's because of these risks that we take that will show themselves in the finale and have all season that we have to start from scratch. And we do have the template of the premise, the blacklist, the criminal of the week, and so forth. But other than that, the serialized story has had to take many twists and turns, and because of this finale it is. So my reaction when I read it was sheer joy and relief. I'll never play a scene where I'm playing kissy face with Tom again, you know, and living in denial of all of the signs again. And my character will never be the same again. There are signs that she's going to continue to grow. So that was my reaction, I guess.
And about Tom, we got a question from Lily Jensen that says, Tom Keane, bad guy all around, or is there something noble about him?
Yeah, there's nobody on the show, The Blacklist, who's good or bad all around. While we do sort of cast people in very dogmatic lights, like we sort of say this is a villain and this is a good guy, but then we've got this, you know, lead male character who's terrible but you love him, and then this female character, mine, who seems like she's, you know, has a really good heart, but then is willing to like stab someone in the neck if they won't do what she says, and you know she's willing to kind of go off the rails. So Tom is going to prove himself to be more than we even think of him now, which is exciting because that's been happening all season. He's been showing new sides of himself.
Yeah. So, Megan, thanks so much for chatting to us today. It was great to talk the Blacklist. All the best of luck with the Emmys for you in the lead actress race. I believe you're submitting yourself in.
Oh, am I?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Or sometimes the network.
I'm in charge of playing Liz Keane, so.
Sometimes the network makes those decisions.
Oh, fantastic! Thanks, NBC.
If you got an issue with that, we can sort it out. But thanks so much, and all the best with the Emmys, all the best with Blacklist season 2, and for the final tonight. How are you watching the final tonight?
Thank you. Me? How am I watching? Oh, they're gonna send me a link on my email, and then I'm gonna click it, and I'm gonna check it out. They're doing all these parties around town, you know, for the new season. Yeah. So I gotta go in. Hi. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good to see you. All that stuff.
Oh, well, thanks for your time, Megan.
Okay, you're very welcome. Nice chatting. Bye.